coming from the anterior border of the, this is the anterior border of the parotid gland on the face, above downwards, whether it is the nerve, whether it is the artery, or whether it is the duct of the gland itself. Okay. So first there are the, we have shown, that is the temporal, the zygomatic, then the transverse facial artery, then the again the upper buccal, then comes the parotid duct, then comes the parotid duct, then comes the lower buccal, then comes the marginal mandibular nerve, and the lastly there is the cervical branch. Okay, so this is the temporal, this is the zygomatic, this is the transverse facial vessels, then this is the upper buccal, this is the parotid duct, this is the lower buccal, this is the marginal mandibular, and this is the cervical. So these are the structures above downwards which are emerging through the anterior border of the parotid gland. Okay. So this was all the structures present inside the parotid gland and with how these structures are related with the parotid gland, whether it is the nerve, vein, or the artery. Okay. Now this parotid gland, if there is two aspects in this related with the parotid gland, when you will read, you will get a nomenclature: pes, facio, venous plane. Okay, pes, PATE, white apostrophe S, it was the name of the scientist, and facio venous plane or the neurovenous plane. You will see from the superficial to deep. Look here. This is the superficial and this is the deep. Superficial part of the parotid gland and the deeper part of the parotid gland. That means parotid gland, it is divided into two aspects. Coronal section I am drawing here, and this is the deeper part of that. This is the superficial part. Okay, and this is the deep part of this gland, parotid gland, and both the parts are attached by a isthmus, by a narrow zone which is known as the isthmus. The superficial part of the gland, which is connected to the deep part of the gland by a narrow strip of gland which is known as the isthmus. Why this thing? This nerve, what happens when it gives the branches over the face, it opts the plane to divide, and that plane it is present here in between the superficial and the deep part. That means the facial nerve, it is choosing the middle part which is connecting the superficial and the deep zone. It crosses through the isthmus, okay, and gives the branches. That's why it provides the plane to the surgeons for while doing parotidectomy, when the parotid gland has to be removed to prevent the damage to the facial nerve. The surgeon will approach this plane to protect this facial nerve. That is known as the faciovenous vein, retromandibular vein, and this nerve. That's why it is known as the neurovenous plane also, isn't it? This is the superficial part and the deep part, and this is the isthmus through which this facial nerve and the face process here and gives it branches. Okay, so whenever you have to remove the gland, you must be very careful to, and how you will give the incision, just here, this is the auricle here, just with the front of the tragus, you give a horizontal incision. Always give a horizontal incision over the skin, which has got a specific nomenclature, Hilton's method, a very important again for the objective. Whatever I used to say that this is asked in the objective, please note it down because it is very important, Hilton's method. That is the method for giving incision over the parotid gland. Suppose this is the parotid gland, so never give the vertical incision to expose the gland. You have to give the horizontal incision. That means to prevent the cutting or the trauma of the facial nerve, because the branches are, it is not, it is giving the in a horizontal pattern here. So the incision should be given horizontally, and this method is known as the Hilton's method. Now come to the very important aspect. We already have discussed the blood supply. It is by external carotid artery, venous drainage, retromandibular vein. But nerve supply, when you will understand this nerve supply, you will be able to understand the applied aspect of that, that is known as the Fraze syndrome. Okay, for that you have to understand Fraze syndrome, a very important clinical aspect of the parotid gland. First, the nerve supply to this parotid gland, from where it is getting its fiber. This parotid gland, it is supplied by the parasympathetic supply. Parasympathetic, by which ganglia? Otic ganglia. Okay, otic ganglia. Because otic ganglia, you will get the options: the parotid gland, the submandibular gland, the sublingual gland, the lacrimal gland. What you will write? You will write the otic ganglia. It is giving the secretomotor fibers to the parotid gland. Another supply, it is by the sympathetic, and another it is the sensory. Okay, sensory supply. This parasympathetic, look here, the preganglionic fibers, the true root of this ganglia, otic ganglia, it is the parasympathetic. That means among all these type of supply, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic and the sensory, this is supplying the secretomotor fibers. This is carrying what? Secretomotor fibers to the gland. So that means whenever this parasympathetic supply is stimulated, the secretion is excited from the parotid gland. So how this pathway, how this ganglia, otic ganglia controls the secretion of the parotid gland? Look here. We have discussed the higher the gland, lower is the nucleus. Lower the gland, higher. There are two salivatory nucleus we have discussed. There is the superior salivatory nucleus, okay, and the inferior salivatory. So the parotid, it is under the control of the inferior salivatory nucleus. So what would be the pathway? Inferior salivatory nucleus, okay, which is present in the medulla here. So look, we will look the pathway of this parasympathetic supply to the gland. Okay. So from this inferior salivatory nucleus, fibers come to the which nerve? Which cranial nerves it is functionally related with this parotid gland? Which nerve? Ninth cranial nerve. That is the ninth. That is the glossopharyngeal. Okay. Ninth cranial nerve. Then ninth cranial nerve, it gives a branches in the middle ear cavity, which is forming what? Tympanic plexus. Tympanic plexus. Or you can say the Jacobson nerve. Jacobson nerve. Okay? Jacobson nerve, it is out here. The tympanic plexus. Now this Jacobson nerve, what it will do? From here, the nerve which comes out, that is the lesser petrosal nerve. Then through the lesser petrosal nerve, it is relaying in the otic ganglia. What is this? Otic ganglia. Okay? Now see, inferior salivatory nucleus through the ninth cranial nerve, it forms a plexus in the middle ear cavity. Then it is carried by the lesser petrosal nerve, a branch of that, and relaying the otic ganglia. Now postganglionic fibers. Now the postganglionic fibers and that is supplying what? This post ganglionic fibers. It is running with which nerve? Auriculotemporal nerve, and it is relaying in the ganglia. Okay, so sorry, this lesser petrosal nerve, this is the otic ganglia here, and otic ganglia and the postganglionic fibers which is arising, and it is supplying this parotid gland. Parotid gland it is. That means the postganglionic fibers, it is carried by this parasympathetic route, and that nerve is auriculotemporal nerve. Auriculotemporal nerve. So, this was the preganglionic, this is the otic ganglia here, and from this otic ganglia the postganglionic fibers originates, and it is supplied the parotid gland. So this is the parasympathetic supply. Then comes what? The sympathetic supply of this gland. Sympathetic supply, it is coming from the superior cervical sympathetic ganglia. Sympathetic ganglia. Postganglionic fibers. Postganglionic fibers which arise from this ganglia, and that is supplying this parotid gland, forming a plexus around which artery? Around the external carotid artery. Wherever there is sympathetic supply to the gland, it needs a plexus around an artery, and here that artery is the external carotid artery. Now sensory supply of the parotid gland, sensory supply we have discussed in the previously, that is there is the auriculotemporal nerve, and also the great auricular nerve. The skin over the parotid gland, it is supplied by the great auricular nerve, which forms also the pseudomotor fibers for the skin. Great auricular nerve. So this was the nerve supply, parasympathetic, sympathetic as well as the sensory supply of the parotid gland. Okay, so you have to remember now this gland, it is supplied by these three types of nerves. So what happens? The applied aspect of what is Freiss syndrome then? Freiss syndrome, what happens? Whenever these nerves are cut, or you can say when it is injured during parotidectomy, what happens? During parotidectomy, if the auriculotemporal nerve is cut, damaged, or what happens? Here it is the parotid gland, here it is the auriculotemporal nerve, here it is the sympathetic, postganglionic sympathetic fibers. So what happens when during parotidectomy, if this nerve is cut, what will happen? If it is cut, then during regeneration of this nerve, what happens? Because the brain, it is not knowing where I have to give my impulse. So through the auriculotemporal nerve, it is regenerating. I said the skin over the parotid gland, there are sweat gland also, it is the skin here. The sympathetic supply or the receptors which are carrying the pain temperature pathway from the skin over there. What happens? These auriculotemporal nerve, it will regenerate into the endoneurium of the sympathetic supply to the skin over the gland. The sympathetic fibers which are supplying the sweat gland and the blood vessels to the skin. Suppose here the skin over the parotid gland, it has got the sweat gland, and the sympathetic supply from here, or the fibers which are carrying the pain touch temperature pathway. So this, during regeneration, what will happen? It will grow towards the endoneurium of these sympathetic supply or the fibers sympathetic supply to the sweat glands and the blood vessels over there, and also the receptors for the pain, touch and temperature. So what happens whenever from the higher center there is the stimulus that is coming downwards, so this auriculotemporal nerve, it will find where is my gland, where I sit it. So once it has regenerated into the endothelium of that, it will excite that sweat gland at the receptors for the pain, touch and temperature. So whenever there is when the person thinks about to eat something, or whenever person is eating, what happens? There is gustatory impulse, so there will be perspiration also. There will be the hotness, the swelling, redness over the skin. At the same time, when the person is eating, you will see there will swollen, the skin is red, painful and hot here, and along with the beads of perspiration. Okay, why? This is known as the gustatory perspiration. It is not the normal, but it is the gustatory perspiration. Due to the post-injured, the nerve, it has changed its pattern to supply instead of the parotid, it is supplying the sweat gland, and also the blood vessels becomes red here, and also the pain touch, and it becomes painful during the eating. When the person eats, the joint is moving, it is compressing that's why the inflammation of the parotid gland, whenever it is inflamed, it is very painful, because the deep fossa, it is unyielding in nature. Whenever it is tense, it will become painful, because and carried by the great auricular nerve, the sensory supply is there. And draining of the parotid abscess, whenever an abscess is drained, you have to drain by giving a horizontal incision over there to prevent the injury to the facial nerve. Okay, then mumps, a very important mumps, that is the inflammation, a viral infection, common infection of the parotid gland, and which is usually seen in the children. It is by a virus, myxovirus, below the age group of 15 years. It is whenever there is secretion, think of the eating food, the turgor pressure inside the parotid gland, it is increased. But once the patient has eaten the substance, then the secretion is released and the pain will be subsided. So it is very important. So go, and it was a very, very important topic for you all for the long question. So full question on the parotid gland. So you have to write from the development to the applied aspect. Okay. In next class we will discuss temporomandibular joint.